If discovering the secrets of the past was easy, we'd all be archaeologists. Things aren't quite that simple, and that's why the work of archaeologists is often so difficult. Many a time, even they can't fully comprehend or understand the things they discover. And that's when we're left with mysteries of the kind you're about to see in this video. During summer of 2022, archaeologists working at a site in Mexico set about the task of attempting to uncover and rediscover what they thought was an image of the Virgin Mary. Long before they'd even finished their work, it was apparent that what they were looking at had nothing to do with Catholicism. Instead, this is a 16th century pre-Hispanic mural depicting the rabbit god Tepoztecatl, the Aztec deity of alcohol and drunkenness. The surprising discovery was made at the convent of Tepoztlan in Tepoztlan City, Morelos, which was built between 1555 and 1580. With the benefit of hindsight, the archaeologists should have realized something was amiss earlier. The Virgin Mary has never been painted with feather plumes or red shields, and both of these details were visible even before the attempt to reveal the painting began. The big puzzle here for archaeologists is why these Aztec murals were left in place after the convent was adapted by Christians. The entire convent is dedicated to the Nativity of the Blessed Virgin, so why would its earliest occupants have tolerated the presence of what they'd surely have perceived to be a false idol on their walls? The tradition of handing out medals for significant military achievements goes back a very long way. It's just that the medals that were handed out more than 1,000 years ago didn't look like the medals of today. As proof of that, here's a 1,800-year-old military medal that was found in the ancient Turkish city of Peri, Adıyaman, in early October 2022. The medal is notable not just because of its age, but also because of the shape it takes. It's been carved into the shape of the mythical ancient Greek Gorgon Medusa. Legend has it that anyone who gazed upon the Gorgon would instantly be turned to stone, which makes her an unlikely candidate to become the face of a medal. However, there's a method to this madness. The word Medusa meant guardian in the ancient Greek language, so Medusa often appears as a protective presence in the art of the era. A Medusa medal could be seen as a sort of protective amulet. Historians think it likely that this artifact was given to a soldier for their success in guarding a person or a place from an enemy attack, but can't yet be any more specific than that. In September 2022, construction workers started creating the new offshore wind farm known as East Anglia 1 off the eastern coast of England. During survey works ahead of the project, an incredibly rare piece of history was discovered on the seabed. It's a wrought iron ancient Roman anchor, and it's approximately 2,000 years old. Roman anchors have been found around Britain's coasts before, but what makes this one unusual is its size. It's 6 feet and 6 inches long and weighs 220 pounds. Historians say it's both the oldest and the largest ever to be found in the country's waters. It's likely to have come from a large merchant ship of the Roman fleet, probably the classic Britannica, which was the regional Roman fleet and served as the first ever British Navy during the country's Roman era. Records suggest the fleet was active between the 1st and 3rd centuries, but precious little physical evidence of its existence has ever been found. Experts say that a boat attached to an anchor of this size would likely have weighed around 500 tons, which is an enormous vessel for that era. In 2021, a 1,200-year-old canoe was found in Lake Mendota in Wisconsin, USA. Almost exactly a year later, in September 2022, another canoe was found in almost the same place. only this one's even older. Radiocarbon analysis of the canoe dates it to almost exactly the year 1000 BCE, making it 3,000 years old. That means it's comfortably the oldest canoe ever found in the Great Lakes region of the United States of America, beating the previous record holder by an entire 1,000 years. On top of that, it's also the oldest direct physical evidence of people in the region using water transportation. Scientists and archaeologists were so stunned by the results of the tests that they had the ancient vessel retested 3 times to make sure there was no mistake. The fact that 2 ancient canoes have been found in such close proximity makes archaeologists wonder whether there was once a lakeside settlement here in ancient times, and so they are now scouring the former shoreline to see if there's any evidence to confirm the theory. The canoe will be cleaned and conserved with the assistance of local tribal members. Archaeological discoveries don't come much scarier than this one. In September 2022, archaeologists discovered 36 headless human bodies at the site of a large Stone Age settlement in Vrabel, western Slovakia. Too much time has passed since these people were killed to determine why it happened, but historians think their deaths might have been part of a primitive cult ceremony. If so, it's a ceremony that happened somewhere around 7,250 years ago. The remains of the victims were found close to a ditch close to one of the entrances to the settlement. To make matters worse, almost all of the victims were juveniles. The full history of this settlement is unknown, but its size makes it unusual. With a total area of 20 hectares, it's larger than both Troy and Mycenae, both of which were founded and populated at around the same time. Experts think that around 1,000 people lived here during the town's peak era and have expressed surprise that the buildings were intelligently positioned around streets in a design not unlike modern city planning. These people were clearly intelligent and sophisticated, but they were also clearly brutal. The ancient Roman fort of Vindolanda is one of the most significant archaeological sites in the United Kingdom, and discoveries like this one are the reason why. It's a cornu mouthpiece, and it's extremely rare. The copper alloy artifact, which was once part of a musical instrument, was made somewhere between the years 120 and 128, was found buried beneath the floor of a Hadrianic workshop. Back when it was in one piece, the instrument would have been carried by a special military hornblower called a cornison. Their job was to encode orders from their general into musical notes, and then play them over the battlefield as instructions to their colleagues. It's quite common to see depictions of cornua in Roman works of art and sculptures, including on Trajan's Column in Rome, but finding part of the actual instrument happens far less often. No fewer than 9 different Roman forts were built at Vindolanda between the years of 85 and 370, each one built atop the last one, making it a challenging but rewarding site to work at for archaeologists. As advanced as the Romans were, they never mastered the art of clockmaking. Instead, they kept track of time using objects like this marble sundial, which was found at the ancient site of Izanoy in Turkey in September 2022. This part of Turkey is known today as Kavdarhisar. Amazingly, the sundial is the only one ever to be found in Izanoy, despite the importance and population density of the city during its peak Roman years around 2,000 years ago. The sundial is thought to come from that era. What makes it an extra special find, apart from its rarity, is the fact that it's in such comparatively good condition. It was found almost in one piece, with just a few tiny fragments missing. It stands 18 inches tall and is almost as wide at its widest point, and comes with all of its original inscriptions and details still visible. right down to the acanthus leaves and animal paws etched into its surface. Sundials like this one would have been placed in prominent positions in shared public spaces, like the city's agora or its temples. It would have been somebody's job to keep an eye on the sundials and regularly proclaim the time to passers-by, serving as official timekeepers for the town. Izanoi would obviously have had far more than one sundial, so where are all the rest? Excavations at the site of Shangshao Shang City Archaeological Park in Shangshao, Henan Province, China, have been ongoing for some time and are likely to keep ongoing for several years, especially if archaeologists there keep finding artifacts like this gold mask. With an estimated age of more than 3,000 years, which dates it to the time of the Shang dynasty, it's even older than another recently discovered ancient gold funerary mask, which was found in the Shangxing Dui sacrificial pit in 2021. This new mask came from a tomb inside a cemetery in the southeast corner of the enormous archaeological site, and is one of more than 200 objects found within the tomb, which appears to be that of a nobleman. The colossal tomb is about the size of a New York City block, covering 10,000 square meters. While the mask is mostly featureless, it's large enough to cover a whole adult face, and would have been designed to serve a specific purpose. The people of the Shang dynasty era believed that gold granted protection to the body and prevented the spirit from being scattered upon decomposition, so decorating the mask would never have been the intention or the point. Archaeologists have been digging at the site of Ayyanis Castle in Turkey for more than 30 years. During that time, they've rarely found anything more significant or unique than the ornamental bronze wall plate that was found there in September 2022. The castle is a hotspot for treasure hunters because it was built for the Urartian king Rusa II, who ruled his territories from there between the years 680 and 693 BCE. The bronze plate is likely to have been chosen personally by the king or a member of the royal family and would have hung on a wall as a decoration. Fragments of similar plates have been found elsewhere in and around the ruins of the castle, but this is the only one that's ever come out of the ground in one piece. The discovery of the bronze plate came as archaeologists identified and unearthed 4 new interconnected rooms buried into the hillside that the castle was once perched atop, and there's still plenty of work to be done inside those rooms. Experts say there's so much digging to be done at Ayyanis Castle that there will still be archaeologists there in another 30 years. When you hear the word hieroglyph, you automatically think of the Egyptians, but they weren't the only ancient civilization to use the pictorial form of written language. As proof, here are a whole 249 ancient Hittite hieroglyphs painted onto the walls of the Yerkapi Tunnel, close to the former Hittite capital city of Hattusa, Turkey. They were noticed and documented by Dr. Bülent Gonk of Mardin Artuklu University while visiting the tunnel with his students in August 2022. The symbols are still being studied, but it's thought that the majority of the glyphs, which are painted in a red pigment believed to be matter, are of deities. This 240-foot-long artificial tunnel was first built around 3,500 years ago, but historians in Turkey aren't sure why. It doesn't seem to have any defensive, offensive, or practical purpose, so it may have been used in ceremonies of some kind. 12 other Hittite-era tunnels have been found near here, but the Yerkapi tunnel is easily the best preserved. It was rediscovered in 1907 and has been examined many times since, but somehow everybody missed the ancient hieroglyphs until Dr. Jank turned up for his field trip. We got a rare and precious insight into the origins of the human species in September 2022 when a 1.8 million year old human tooth was discovered in the European nation of Georgia. The discovery cements the idea that Georgia was home to some of the earliest human settlements in Europe, and perhaps the oldest in the whole world outside of Africa. Archaeologists found the jaw tooth, which belongs to an early human species, in the tiny village of Kvemo Orotsmani, which is in Georgia's Dmanisi municipality. Amazing discoveries have also been made here in the past, including the discovery of a human skull more than 1 million years old in the late 1990s. This might have been the first place humans settled after leaving Africa, but the tooth is still considerably younger than the oldest ever discovered. That honor goes to a partial jaw that was discovered in Ethiopia several years ago, for which scientists were able to determine an age of 2.8 million years. Still, this is a discovery that has the potential to alter our understanding of the earliest years of human development and spread. Until September 2022, we thought that the necropolis of Castillo de Huarame in Peru was reserved for ancient Peruvian royalty, specifically the rulers of the Wari culture. We now know that exceptions were sometimes made, as archaeologists in the region have discovered the tombs of elite-level Wari craftspeople inside the necropolis. The Wari culture lived in this part of Peru, close to the south-central Andes, between the 5th and 10th centuries, and had a complex hierarchical structure to their society. The tombs of craftspeople have never been found in the necropolis before, and their presence is making Peruvian historians wonder whether Castillo de Huarame might have been an administrative and cultural center as well as a necropolis. It's possible to identify the newly discovered burials as craftspeople, 2 of whom were male and 2 were female, because of the grave goods they were buried with. One of the graves, that of a man who passed away close to the age of 40 around 1,300 years ago, contains knives, saws, axes, and a cane used in the basket weaving process. It's possible that the craftspeople worked directly for the royal family, but that alone wouldn't explain why they're buried in a royal graveyard.
Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!